Ďakujem veľmi pekne ešte raz. Chcel by som vás tu...
It is a wonderful pleasure to welcome each and every one of you. I would like to welcome the participants of the panel discussion. I am Sebestyén Maros. I am the colleague of the Commissioner for Children in the Slovak Republic, an advisor, and I'm probably the youngest commissioner. And I also speak Hungarian and English. My mother is from Budapest, so you could say that I am not just bilingual, you could say I'm multilingual. And when it comes to the Slovak office of this Children's Protection Office, I was awarded the job because I did different activities, which we will be discussing as part of the panel. And I would like to now present the participants. Tomáš Pasut, Emily Strikačová, Nela Ripelová, and Alex Sabo. And to give the floor over, I would like to first ask each and every one of you, please, to introduce yourself in a couple of minutes. Share something that is of interest to us. And Tomáš, please be the first one. Thank you so much for giving me the floor. As Sebestyén mentioned, I'm Tomáš Pasut. I'm 17. I'm German, Slovak, speaker, attending a bilingual high school. And in addition to attending high school, I assist the Children's Protection Office, and this commissioner for the children of the Slovak actually sent me to Malta to represent Slovakia at an international forum, which basically was the Children's Rights Ombudsman's meeting, or the Protection of Children's Rights Ombudsman meetings, and I would like to talk about a very typical topic that is digital bullying. I am Emily. I'm 18. I have been living in a children's home ever since a young age. I work in Čadce at a pedagogical school. I'm studying to become a carer, a nurse, and it is my life mission, a guiding star to what I would like to accomplish in life. I also started the activity in József Miklós's office, and I am a member of the youth parliament as well, and I am active in the foundation's activity. Basically, there will be different activities that I'm conducting. So this foundation is the PP Longstocking that I do. And I would like to also mention that Emily is a composer, a musical composer, and if we will have the time for that, she might even present some of her pieces.
I am Nora Ripelova. I'm 18 years of age. And currently, I attend the English-Slovak bilingual grammar school in Suchany, and I also participate in the work of the Children's and Youth Parliament. And similarly to Emilia, I also work as an animator for spiritual renewal, and I am focusing on divorces and the impact of divorces on children. That's what I like to talk about. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I am Alexander Sabo from Bratislava, and I attend Trade Academy. I actually graduated from the Trade Academy secondary school, and I'm studying psychology at the university right now. And I also work in the Children's Protection Commissioner's Office, and today I'd like to talk about Children's Home and the power of forgiveness. Thank you. Hello, thank you very much, all of you. Thank you to all of you for the short introduction, and I'd like to go on from there. Emily, I was really captivated by what you said. As a matter of fact, you have spent 18 years of your life in a children's home. I must admit, I cannot even imagine that. I have no idea how life is in a children's home. I have never been to one. And if I know correctly, in the children's home and also outside the children's home, you live through some difficult situations that we everyday people cannot even imagine. So how did you get here? Not here to Budapest, but to the life stage where you are today? Well, up until the age of 15, I was a very naughty child. And the way our family worked is that our mother immediately sent us to a children's home. It's 12 siblings, 12 of us. I am number 12, and I am religious. And it was very difficult because we thought we would only spend a short time in the children's home and then we would go home again, and that we would have a family. But as I said, I was a bad child. And since my childhood, I have had health issues, psychological issues, and the doctors came up with all kinds of things, like I have breathing problems, heart problems, and so on. And right from the beginning, I was very much a kind of injured child. My mother wanted to have an abortion. She didn't even recognize me as her daughter, and I didn't have a good relationship with my father either. So for 15 years, I was struggling for the acceptance of my mother because she took in my siblings. And we got to a stage where I would have had a different father, which was difficult for me. But we, in the children's home, play sports. And it was there that I met József Miklósku on one occasion, who offered me a camp called The Road Leading to Home. First, I didn't want to attend, but then I decided to go because at least I could have some time away from the children's home because it wasn't really good to be there. One of my nurses, carers, also really was cruel to me, which was abnormal. And I even turned to the educational center. They couldn't cope with me, and I couldn't cope with them either. Neither the director or the carers could cope with me. But this camp, which was called The Road Leading Home, lasted a week, and it was mostly about faith and forgiveness. And I didn't want that. It's a difficult period. It's about mothers, fathers, forgiveness, and false condolences. And we were in a small chapel, and we put our wishes on small scraps of paper, and I put my wishes on a scrap of paper as well. I didn't have any faith. To me, God was absolutely negative. I was angry with God. But once the healing process was completed, I was touched by the light, and my life turned around completely. And when I returned, I already had my papers ready to say I would leave the children's home, and there was a lady psychiatrist who established that I was totally changed. I was not the old Emily anymore. And I actually have a better relationship with my mom. She's almost homeless. She lives in a small settlement, and I'm letting God guide me. And I went through this healing process, and I now realize how God can help through me and by me. Thank you. It's difficult to find the words after such a story. I actually, as I was listening to you, the following question came to my mind. Okay, the physical aspects are just one aspect of this case, but what about the spiritual side? So when you go through a major trauma like this, so how can you simply forgive? I fully understand that it's not only in children's home that strong things happen. They can happen with children living in families. I have friends and acquaintances from such situations. But I myself didn't believe I could forgive or that if it was even possible. But this is the power of forgiveness. It's God itself, himself. We humans are not capable of doing that. If I hadn't asked God to touch my heart and bring me love, then it wouldn't have happened. And I can see it on the children in the children's homes that even the carers cannot give them the love that they need. They have their own lives, and sometimes they are angry with us, but we always want more and more love because we have never known this love. And I needed it so much, and I also wanted to be part of a family. But up until the age of 18, I had no one. And that's why I asked God, why is this all happening to me? And this is the very question when we ask back, like, where were you when this happened and I needed you? And why are you saying you are God and that you died for us? And then you let this kind of thing happen. And when you ask God and you actually give yourself to freedom, then he will show you where the right answer is. So I closed my eyes and someone was praying for me, and the lady said to me, okay, try and close your eyes, look at yourself in this situation and look for God. So our children also need this kind of chat, because not just about their values and feelings, but quite often their souls are injured and their way of thinking, their mentality is also different. They go to special schools and the parents cannot help these children. I see. So through this topic, I turned to Alex. You also spent a certain time in a children's home, but you are now studying psychology. Is there a connection between the two? So what's your story? What did you go through there? Yes, I'd like to tell you my story. I come from a family where from a small age, a young age, I was brought up by my mother only, and it's 6 of us, 6 siblings. So I'm sure it wasn't easy for her. And from the age of 6 until the age of 11, I was in a children's home for the reason that my mother had a bit of an issue with alcohol and couldn't really look after ourselves. So we were put in a children's home, and I spent 5 years there. And then I was in a professional family for 4 years. And there I started attending seminars on forgiveness. And as Mr. Miklosko also said, it was there that they organized these kind of camps called the road leading to home. And it allowed me to break away from my past and understand why this all happened. I could accept it, I could forgive. And I also forgave them for my past. And as a result, I could move on. And I started studying psychology for the very reason that I started getting interested in the human conscious and the human mind. It's probably all pre-planned by God, whatever you get through life, and I believe things should be the way they are. Thank you, and thank you for sharing it with us. I still have one more question. I hear that you are diabetic. So to live with such a health handicap in general, so how is it to be in a children's home? Do they give any consideration to such a health situation? Are they even prepared for this kind of situation? Well, when I was in a children's home, well, I didn't have very good health check results because the lifestyle is such that the insulin pens and the measurement devices cannot be kept by us, so they must be left with the carers. And whenever you went to the carer when you needed it, well, you could do that, but you also need to measure your blood sugar during the day, or you need to have the insulin on hand. And when you feel that your sugar is up, then you should really give yourself a little bit of insulin. And they couldn't really get their heads around this diabetes. They were not properly educated in it, and my results were not good, also partly to the fact that this education was lacking. And the devices were held by them, and it was always me having to go there 4 times a day at certain points in time, and that's how I gave myself the insulin, and I measured my blood sugar levels. But these days there are, as a matter of fact, sensors which can be actually taped to your body, and these sensors continually measure your values, and it sends the values to your smartphone, which is a very good thing. But in children's homes, and by then I hadn't been for some time in a children's home, I think they don't buy these in children's homes because they are quite expensive. And one sensor costs about 80 euros for 1 month for a period of 10 days within a month, which is quite expensive, considered expensive, so they don't really buy these devices. But I actually don't know how it works these days because I'm no more there. Thank you. All I'd like to add is that I very much appreciate that you are prepared to share your stories in front of the public and open up like this. And of course, it's also an opportunity for me to learn a little bit more and to look into difficult stories like this. I think on the one hand, it convinces us to accept and understand the other and also respect the other. And all I would add is that maybe I was a little bit luckier than Emily because, well, I spent 9 years in the children's home and Emily spent her whole life in the children's home. That's a different case because I made it back to my mother because she eventually could stand on her 2 feet and she fought for me and she succeeded. And perhaps it's 2 different life situations. Perhaps I had a little bit more luck than Emily because my mother took me back. So that was it, really. And then we would go on to a different topic, aggression. Well, you could see the presentation of this from the commissioner's presentation. You could actually see the bullying among children, which is the most severe form of aggression among children. Tamás, you actually organize a lot of sports events. Do you actually see an increase in bullying among young people? And if yes, then you, as a person responsible for this, even though you are a young manager, so how do you settle these things? Well, I always see bullying all the time and everywhere. It will never die out. It will always be with us. And maybe the most important reason for the bullying is that we don't give enough attention to children, because at the moment they don't get the right attention. They start living their own little life within their own bubble, and they start creating their own opportunities and rules by which they live. So as a matter of fact, they try and kind of slip out from under the control of their leaders and parents. And then, of course, it spreads to other children as well. And I see that working as a manager in summer camps or a sports manager. So it causes different issues. And then this takes me to my main line of thought slowly, because ultimately the person will become the victim themselves. They will be bullied or transfer their own anger to others. And just to give you a specific example, I was training with young children last year, 5 to 6 year olds, so it was like general preparation. And there was a little guy who attended the camp, and his mother was an alcoholic, and so was his father. And it was very strange. And of course, I knew the parents were drinking quite heavily, and we let him to have at least some sport, some kind of background where he feels safe. And actually, he actually did naughty things all through the year. He was pulling the hair of girls. I think he was actually throwing water around, throwing away dolls, etc., etc. So he did a lot of naughty things, and it wasn't pleasant for me either, but gradually it got out of him when he realized that children were making friends with him more and more. And of course, I had to explain to the children that they shouldn't just regard him to be stupid, but they should start talking to him. And when they started making friends with him, the last coaching session arrived, and he brought candies for everyone, and everyone was extremely happy. And now this little boy is 7 years old, and it works actually exactly the same in the higher school years as well. Just an extra question that came to my mind. As you said, now he's already 7. So I am sad to hear that already at this age, young children have mobile phones. And there are Facebook, Instagram, TikTok accounts going with it hand in hand, all the community platforms, the Reels, etc., etc. And recently, whenever I go to a school and I look around, even in the primary school, kids are simply sitting there and fiddling with their phones. And just to boast to you, at the beginning of this year, the commissioner managed to put through some new legislation for using mobile phones in school. And actually, it came into power in September. In the first, second, and third year of elementary school, children cannot have their mobile phones on them at all. So I wish to thank the commissioner for pushing this through. But I have a supplementary question about the community networks. And many say that they actually offer a platform for children to leave their anger. Do you also have that impression that community platforms indeed generate this kind of bullying or trigger this kind of bullying? I would connect to what you said about mobile phones. This is also a question on the agenda in our school. And when I was attending the primary school, between the forms of 1 to 9, mobile phones were banned. And I'm continuing actually in the same school now, and the school principal managed to ban phones in secondary schools as well, except for the last year of school before the maturity exams. So funnily, we found that we can operate without fiddling with our mobiles all the time. We can find other forms of fun. And actually, the community also started changing. And now we play together, we chat together, and we work on different projects together on top. And we also set up a school parliament. So when it comes to bullying, as you also mentioned, so we discuss things. So bullying is actually there in the community media, but it's mysterious. You can never know where your photos will get to. And the commissioner also had an interesting note on Instagram.
It was written, what is it that you can achieve by the fact that, the parent shares the images or the pictures, the photos of the child. The classmates find it, they send it all over the place, they send it on WhatsApp and all the other groups, and they become cover photos and background photos, and then that child becomes humiliated. It's really complex to remove that photo afterwards. The children feel that basically nothing is allowed. They can't really do anything against it. And actually, some further extremes could be even imagined, because there is this online harassment. So actually, you can actually cut them, you can edit them, you can abuse these photos. And another thing that was mentioned regarding that is actually the sexual harassment of children, especially by older men who are hunting for innocent young girls incapable of protecting themselves. And the commissioner showed the statistics that 40% of the children cannot say no to such a predator. And if it's 40% of the children who cannot say no, then it gives humongous opportunity for these predators to get background images, pictures, and sensitive materials, and to share it with others. Now, actually, this cannot be traced, and you don't know where it ends up. Now, let's focus on the last speaker who hasn't really spoken today, to talk about divorce. Nella, you have already divorced. The judges didn't believe you. What's your take on this really wide scope of problem, which has increased a great deal in these crazy times? I was very happy when the Minister of State mentioned these modifications that occur during the listening to children. Unfortunately, I come from a family where I come from, it's basically an abusive family. My father was an alcoholic. He didn't want to divorce. The whole process lasted 9 months. In the very first procedure, we were invited to be a witness. I was 13 at the time, and my younger brother was 8 years of age when he was called to the court, and my older sister was 16. So basically, it was really difficult it was overburdened, and we were in a stressful situation. And then by the time we got there, you didn't even know what to expect. We weren't shared the process, what a court case looks like. And when I entered the courtroom, the judge didn't even introduce himself. He immediately asked me the question, what was the worst experience of yours? What was the biggest consequence of your parents debating? So all the trauma came up again, and I had to experience that once again, and I had trembling legs and felt terrible. So it didn't help. My older sister, who was talking about certain things, actually, well, the judge didn't take into consideration those things that my father committed. So basically, he didn't believe us that such things occurred. This is really sad to hear. I can't even imagine. My parents are also divorced, but it was a recent divorce. So actually, I only went to the social services to report when I was already, I don't know, 16, 17? Is there a complementary question? Yes. Now, when it comes to these divorce stories, I would have another story from this summer, basically. there was a summer camp, and there was a girl who actually made herself throw up. And she actually made her experience pain, and then she was crying there. And it was really powerful because I talked to her. I asked her what the deal was. She says she doesn't know where her sibling is, what's happening, because the divorce was occurring when the child was in the camp. So this child had no clue whatsoever. And so there was the support that we provided to this child. And then the child came back to the camp, and then she gave us a hug to animators, and then she brought the sibling with her. So basically, now they live with the divorced parents, but everything is okay now. Now, I think there was a really great comment here, what Tomasz was saying, because these divorces are actually very shocking for the child. Their identity is very much influenced by it. Actually, I was divided as a person. I didn't have a fixed footing under my feet. I didn't know what was about to happen, how it would work, how often I will meet this parent or that parent. So actually, this was a huge emotional burden. It caused internal damage to my psyche. I actually became depressed. I had anxiety, I had panic attacks, and actually it's all connected to the fact that I didn't even know who I was. And I had issues with my self-identity, with my identity. Actually, I had gender problems. Just like Mr. Piska mentioned, I didn't want to be a woman any longer, but then I participated on this program. The movement is called On the Path Back Home. I could forgive my father, but it was very difficult and it was really demanding, but it was really helpful because I had no contact whatsoever with my father for 2 years after this event. And then actually once the camp took place, I contacted him in 2 weeks' time and we are back again in touch. So you could say that after all, it is all good. Now, time is pretty much up. This is the reason why I would like to tackle another important topic which we haven't discussed, namely children's participation, and then walking hand in hand with this support. So basically, we have spoken about that, why we are here, how we are connected. You are all present in the Children's Parliament. The, you know, the Children's Protection Council was set up, and then this parliament is held twice a year in Western and Eastern Slovakia, once every year. So actually we have 100 young people who twice a year meet and then discuss some specific topics. Now, actually, it was about a month ago when we met in Eastern Slovakia, and accidentally the Minister of State was there from the Ministry of the Interior, who was here present. Unfortunately, she had to leave. So basically, we got to know each other. And the topic this year is drugs and poverty, if I'm not mistaken. Now, a little side note, of course, I don't really want to brag, but this parliament is really great. And I would like to mention that the banning of the mobile phone is upon the initiative of this parliament. So actually, you were the ones who came up with this idea. You put down in a hypothetical form which can be used in real life. Actually, the commissioner, the ombudsman, took that to the Minister of Education, who actually incorporated that into legislation. And without exaggeration, you could say that it was your very idea. Thanks to you, now mobile phones are banned in schools because of your initiative. So basically, this is wonderful. And I believe that the ideas of the youth parliament are very great because you are directly connected. I'm not saying that with politicians, but maybe in a sense you could say that with legislators, state actors, the very people who could influence these initiatives. So actually, in my opinion, this is a great initiative. I also would like to add this thing that actually 2 weeks ago or so, the commissioner and the initiative organized a commemorative event. We commemorated the adoption of the Geneva Conventions 100 years ago, and the commissioner announced the year of 2025 for the year of better relations. Now, everything that we have been speaking about has this common denominator, namely bad relations, non-understanding, and then problems between different people who cannot sit down and discuss their own issues. Now, this is a huge problem, and not only in the Slovak society. I believe that the same problem is present in Hungary, all over Europe, and in other places as well. So actually, this comes from bad relations. So, and now one last note that the commissioner signed a declaration which you prepared in the Youth and Children's Parliament. And actually, this was a beautiful moment whereby the whole scope is completed. In 1 week, you wrote this declaration, handwritten declaration, that you want good relationships with the society. So basically, it was something like a 10 commandments, so to say, or a basic principles or so that everyone should comply with for better relations. And actually, this 10 Commandments or call for proposal actually was signed by the President of Slovakia and the Ombudsman. So you could say that your handwritten initiative is already approved by the President of Slovakia. And then hopefully, indeed, next year is going to be a year of better relationships. Thank you. We have 2 minutes left. Let me ask whether you have any questions from the audience in any language. You can ask in English, Hungarian, and Slovak. So here is your opportunity. If you want to ask questions, the floor is yours. But if you do not have questions, of course, we will be here and you can talk to us informally as well. So now I would like to give some room for Emily to play one of her pieces. And if I may, I would like to add what this composition is about. I am praising God in this. Stála som tam pred krížom bolestným, hľadieť na teba so srdcom plačúcim. Stála som tam pred krížom bolestným, hľadieť na teba so srdcom plačúcim. Moja bolesť
bolesť stála je, moja bolesť plačúca. On je ten, čo prichádza, on je ten, čo obmýva. Tvoja láska väčšia je, tvoja láska prevyšuje. A moje srdce znie, a moje srdce znie. Príď ako mocná rieka, príď ako vodopády, príď ako uzdravenie zmy moje hriechy. Príď ako mocná rieka, príď ako vodopády, príď ako uzdravenia zmy moje hriechy. Dnes sa ti dávam. Príď ku mne, Ježiš, prosím, už ja viac nevládzem. Moje srdce stále bolí, ale tebe veriť smiem. Pripravujem svoje srdce, lebo patrí tebe len. Odteraz až navždy budem v tebe len, v tebe len, v tebe len. Navždy budem.
Ďakujeme veľmi pekne.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This is beautiful. And at the end of the panel, I would like to thank you. Thank you that I could moderate this wonderful panel. And I would like to thank each and every one of you for being courageous to share your stories with us. Thank you so much for that.